Welcome. My name is Beth Johnson. I'm co-organizer of the Stillwater Gazette Candidate Forum Series. I join co-organizer Margot Reinberger and welcome you to the Washington County Sheriff Q&A session. Our timekeeper, Carly Johnson, will help keep Margot on track. Over the past 25 years, our forum format almost always has involved candidates who are running for the same office. They would address the same questions at the same time. When we realized, after repeated attempts, that we were not going to be able to get the two Washington County Sheriff candidates, Paul Hoppe and appointed incumbent Dan Starry, together, we still wanted to give voters the opportunity to hear and see them. At that point, we decided to do separate Q&A sessions, but not utilize the same questions. Margot interviewed Paul Hoppe for 45 minutes on Monday, October 15th, and now she is interviewing appointed Sheriff Dan Starry. As advertised in several newspapers, all questions asked of Dan will be from the Stillwater Gazette and from Margot. For those of you in the audience, please turn off your cell phones and please show respect and don't talk. Thank you. I will now turn it over to my colleague, Margot.
Yep. Thank you, Beth. Thanks so much for coming, Dan. For those who might not know, Dan Starry was appointed sheriff after former Sheriff Bill Hutton resigned to take another job opportunity. Correct. So please tell us about yourself.
You know, Margot, first of all, thank you for having this Q&A, and thank you to the Stillwater Gazette and everyone else for coming out this evening. I've been with the Sheriff's Office now for 25 years. As you said, I'm the incumbent sheriff, and I have my beautiful wife here this evening. We've been married 26 years, and we have two beautiful daughters, Beth and Megan. We moved up here in 1993, and we're just two couple country kids from southern Minnesota that moved up here and found this job at the Washington County Sheriff's Office. And we fell in love with this place. We fell in love with the people, the community, the pride and the spirit that is here. And we made this our home. Our careers are here, and we've been in the Valley ever since. We moved, like I said, we moved to Stillwater in '93, and we couldn't ask for a better place to live.
Tell me about your law enforcement background.
So my law enforcement background, I have 25 years with the Washington County Sheriff's Office. That was actually my first law enforcement job. And so I started July 12th, 1993, to be exact. And from there, I've done just about everything that there is to do within the Sheriff's Office. It started off as a deputy sheriff doing patrol work. Became a canine officer with canine partner Smokey. Then I was an investigator, a youth investigator. I was a DARE officer, taught in the schools. I was a school resource officer. I was a narcotics officer. And then I got into SWAT and started as a SWAT operator. And
for those who don't know what SWAT means.
SWAT is Special Weapons and Tactics, and it's a specialized team that has specialized training to go into those areas that most people don't. And so, you know, it's one of those things that...
And give examples of that.
You know, it's a lot of times it's... for example, we just had one, a SWAT call out where someone would not come out of the house. And so we brought in our team to negotiate and see how that is. It was well advertised in the news. But we actually got a real nice thank you from the family of that individual, saying thank you for your kindness, your patience, for your negotiating the process. And so being part of that and being part of that team and ultimately running the team has given me a unique sense, certainly in law enforcement. And then from there, I was a sergeant, I was a commander of the Special Services Division, chief deputy for 7 years, and now sheriff.
And why did Bill Hutton feel, did he endorse you?
He did,
Yeah.
yes.
Why? What were the reasons?
You know, I think like many that have endorsed me, I think it's one of those qualities that that I have is that I can relate, and I can talk to people, and people trust me. They know that if I give my word, that's my word. It's honor, it's integrity, it's the relationship building, it's a collaborator, making sure that everyone, you know, we're a long county, Margot, from Forest Lake all the way down to Hastings. We actually have a couple residents in Hastings, and it's a long county, but it's making sure that as the sheriff, as the chief law enforcement officer, that we can unite people and bring the county forward, and especially law enforcement forward.
What would you consider key things that a great, and I'm not saying a good, but a great sheriff needs to bring to the position? And as you go through them, explain how you fit the bill.
I would say it's a great question. I would say patience in a listener, someone who is going to sit back and look at all sides of a situation. Certainly on SWAT, that was one of those things that things are unfolding fast. However, you have to make sure that you look at everything and all of your options before you make a move and go forward. So I think just being patient and being a listener, being kind, being compassionate, I think that has been my career, and I think all of those instances over my 25-year career, I can point back to and say, you know, those were certainly people that I encountered that needed that kindness, that compassionate, you know, person, someone that can lend an ear instead of always maybe the muscle. I believe being a great leader, obviously the Washington County Sheriff's Office is 256 employees strong. They're dedicated, committed men and women who go out and serve the public every day, and they do a tremendous job in doing that. And I think for someone to be able to lead them, when they have questions, they need answers. And I think that's the leadership that I provide. And then I would say experience. I think my 25-year career, I've done just about everything, like I said, within the sheriff's office, being from the deputy sheriff all the way up to the sheriff. And I think it's that point that I've done it. I've been there. I've been working the streets, and I haven't bounced from job to job. This has been my career, and this is my place that I want to be. And it's a place that I call home.
Every day when you get up, what drives you? I mean, what is that passion that just says, oh, I want to go to work, or do you not want to? I mean, there's that too for some people.
You know, I go to work with a smile on my face every day. And I think the people that work there, they would say the same thing. It's the drive of doing the right thing, doing it for my family, and making sure that they are proud of me every day that I go to work. But also for the citizens. It's for the employees and the citizens that they know that they can count on someone who is going to do the right thing. When things get tough, they need someone that has a heart, that cares, and that will lead them through anything.
Okay, you say you go happy, but I can't believe that smile stays on all day with what you count. Really?
You know,
with what you encounter. So, tell me what things upset you. That you'll go home and you'll go, wow.
Yeah, you know, that's a really great question. I think some of those things that the disbelief sometimes of people and some of their actions, whether it's distracted driving or they're driving and they hurt someone, or they've had too much to drink and they hurt someone or they kill someone. Whether it's on our roadways or out on our water parks and trails, you know, it's those type of things that sometimes you shake your head and you wonder why. But then it's how can we improve that? How do we move on from that? And how do we embrace everyone to say, this is what we're going to do from the future, and let's do something about that.
So the next day you wake up with a smile? Okay.
Absolutely.
What innovations, if any, have you made in the department since you held the role of sheriff?
We've done quite a bit. The sex trafficking unit is just a great example of collaboration.
Please go into detail on that, because that was going to be another topic that I was going to bring up.
Absolutely. So the sex trafficking unit, we have a great collaboration with the county attorney, Pete Orpit, but also with our Woodbury Public Safety, Chief Lee Vague down there, Oakdale Police Department, Bill Sullivan, who's the chief there. And we got together and we said, this is the example that we want for Washington County, but for the Metro and hopefully for the nation as well. Imran Ali is a great prosecutor, and he has passion and he has drive. And we're going to do the right thing when it comes to getting the traffickers off the street and out of Washington County. And I think we have made a difference. We've recovered, and I hate the word recovered, but we've intervened with 71 victims so far, and we've gotten them the help that they've needed. And I think those are the cases that are near and dear to your heart, because they don't get into that situation by themselves. They're preyed upon. And that's something that we want to make sure that our kids and our public are safe, and that is so important. And so for having this task force, I made sure that they needed a sergeant. And I went before the county board, stated my case, and we were approved a sergeant in that sex trafficking unit.
Okay, and why was that?
And I think it's so complicated, and it's such a complex issue. There's so many dynamics to it from the victim services, because we're victim-centered. We want to make sure that we get them the help that they need to make sure that they lead a productive life afterwards. But also making sure that these suspects, these traffickers, are accountable and held accountable as we go forward. And that's by making sure that we're following the rules, following the laws, and making sure that we have a good case when we go to court.
Opioid abuse, big.
Yes.
In the county and elsewhere, how is your department specifically addressing that, if at all?
The opioid epidemic, and I'll call it an epidemic because it truly is.
Right.
We've continued to make strides with it. I sit on the board of directors for the North Central high-intensity drug trafficking area. And this is a collaboration where the sheriffs in the Metro, 5 sheriffs, along with Milwaukee sheriffs and Wisconsin, we got together and we said we have to do something about this locally between both, because we're seeing it in both areas. And, it's national as well, and we've heard that time and time again. But what can we do, And so we're by doing this, it opened us to federal monies, and so we can start programs, and we're looking at programs. Matter of fact, we're just going to be rolling out, it's called OD Map, and it's one of these OD Map,
Okay.
It's Overdose Map.
Okay.
And so it's technology for first responders. So as a first responder, whether it's EMS, fire, or law enforcement, that they can have real-time data of what is occurring around the metro or around their area. Mm-hmm. And so each discipline can go ahead and enter that in there. And we're going to see where the hot spots are. Certainly heroin, the opioids, fentanyl, carfentanil, those are all issues that are affecting first responders, but also our citizens as well. With fentanyl and carfentanil, we made sure to put naloxone in the hands of our deputies. So out on the road, they have an antidote that, so if they get exposed to fentanyl or carfentanil, that they have something that they can do right away. whether it's for the victim or for themselves, that will reverse the effects of that drug.
How successful is it?
You know, so far we've saved over 19 lives. We've administered it over 19 times, and it's been very successful. And as far as the deputies, they're very glad that they have it. You know, but besides the deputies, we even have it in our correctional facility as well, because you know that as the inmates, those being arrested, come in, they may still be on it. And we want to make sure that those inmates are just as safe as the citizens out on the street as well.
It's a tough line, though, because it's like you don't want them to continue to do it thinking, oh, you'll save them, you know. And do you agree?
You know, I relate it back to the automatic external defibrillators, AEDs. I think it's the same type of thing. I think, you know, it's one of those tools that we have in our chest that we can use. And if we can save a life, that's why we're out here. That's why we got into this business.
Oh, I meant it, Dan, in this way. Okay, so they take the drug, okay?
Yep.
Unlike they don't usually choose to have a heart attack. So I was just saying that it just seems like, okay, you're going with the approach to save them. They made the wrong move in many cases ahead of time. That's what I mean.
Absolutely, and sometimes they don't know that maybe the illicit drug that they are taking is laced with either fentanyl or carfentanil, and we are seeing that certainly within the metro, but throughout the nation as well. So.
Okay, so these ones that have overdosed, and you know, let's save them. Is your department or any department reaching out to educate them so you don't have to come back and save them?
Yeah, absolutely. We partner so well with our county partners, public health environment, community corrections, community services, and we offer those services to them. I think it's one of those things that medically we need to continue to do. We have an opportunity to change a person's life.
Absolutely.
We've been working, County Attorney Pete Orpin and I, we've been working with Dr. Hockey from Regions, who's the premier expert in opioids, and we're making sure that we are doing the right thing. And as programs continue, we're going to make sure that we're doing the right thing. We have drug take-back within the county. I've expanded that to include 2 more locations where people can bring their unused, expired, unwanted medications. And so now we have 5 locations, that being in Forest Lake, Hugo, Stillwater, Woodbury, and Cottage Grove. So all the way up and down the county.
Anonymously, I hope.
Anonymously, absolutely. And we've collected 26 tons. I mean, that's amazing.
Where's that going?
That all goes and gets through public health and environment. It gets disposed of correctly. And so it's amazing the amount of unused, expired, unwanted medications that are in our medicine cabinets that we don't need. And I think for a while, you know, it used to be you go to the doctor and you get 60 pills. You know, you don't need that. You know, for me, I know that I went, got some Vicodin when I broke my leg. And I think I used 1, but I had a whole pill bottle full of them. I didn't need it, you know. So it was nice to have something like this to get them out of our medicine cabinets, so we can protect those that may abuse them or fall into the wrong hands, like children.
Is educating for that specific topic, epidemic, is it failing because it continues and you hear, you know, you more and more and. What went wrong, or what is going wrong? What should be changed?
Well, certainly, I think we're working with the medical community, and I think that's what is changing nationally. And I think that's where it had to start. It started with our doctors. It starts with our hospital about overprescribing these medications. And I think that's where it had to start, and I know that's where it is starting, and they are changing, and they're making progress. And we're hearing about that on the news as well. And I think that's so important for the public to know that changes are coming. It's probably not as quick as what anyone wants, but they are coming.
And we only hear about, you know, we don't hear about every day, and we don't really know, you know, it just seems like, oh gosh, it's on and on and on. You're probably familiar with this county suing the drug companies, right?
Yes, absolutely.
For coming up manufacturing the drugs. How successful do you think that will be?
You know, we certainly hope that that'll be very successful, you know, and it's all about holding those accountable and making sure that we recoup some of the monies that we are losing for these programs and what we're seeing across the county. And so I know County Attorney Pete Orpett, he's been very effective with that, and other counties are as well. But it's one of those things that we need to continue to do. We had an officer, a deputy in the Drug Enforcement Agency for the Tactical Diversion Squad as well, and we housed him there. And that deputy was specifically going after those doctors that overprescribe medications. And I think that's really important. I think we've been on the front lines. We see the effects. We know the terrible effects that they have for the community, but also for our families and our citizens
So
too.
it sounds like an accountability is a new, a real strong focus now.
Absolutely.
Is that right? Dan, what does your department do in terms of public education? What topics?
You know, as far as public education, I think what don't we do?
Well,
You know, I think we could spend all 45 minutes doing that. Matter of fact, just the other night, Pete and County Attorney Pete Orpett and I and Commissioner Kriesel, we were down at in Lake Elmo, and we were holding a educational piece on human and sex trafficking. We had a great group of residents that were there that came out they wanted to know what they could do to help with sex trafficking. What are the signs? What are the symptoms that we see? What is the task force seeing? And it was just a great outing. 2 weeks before that, we were down in Woodbury at at assisted living, and they brought us in, and they were talking about they want to know about scams. Specifically, what are those scams that are affecting their age, the 50 and plus age? And what I was telling them, it doesn't matter if it's 20 or if you're 70. Those scams are affecting all of us. It's not uncommon anymore with technology to get a scam on your cell phone through the computer, or it's pretty rampant out there. And so it's those, making sure that we're safe. We do water parks and trails training as well. We just, this past summer, or this fall, we opened up a life jacket loaner station. And again, it's one of these collaborations that we're partnering with our partners to make sure that kids are safe while they're at the Lake Elmo Beach in their pond, right? Some kids come and they don't know how to swim, or they don't swim that well, or they just get in trouble. And so we made sure to have a life jacket loaner station down there. It's making sure that we are out in front of the public, making sure that people know who the sheriff is, know who the sheriff's office is, and the great work that the men and women are doing every day.
For people who are watching, how can they contact you and tell you, oh, we'd love you to address at some group maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. They can go right online. Okay. You know, my email is dan.starry@co.washington.mn.us. They can call dispatch at our non-emergency line, 651-439-9381, or they can call Sheriff's Administration, 651-430-7601. So there's multiple ways besides being
Don caught those.
Don's great. I'm sure he'll catch them and put them up there.
Replay, he's fast.
But there's a lot of ways to contact us. But even, again, community engagement is so important to the sheriff's office. And so if there's a deputy that's out there driving down the street, stop them, ask them, because they're going to be able to answer their questions about our community engagement and the programs that we offer.
What forms of communication are necessary to reach all age groups in our county, and what types of information should we as residents absolutely be aware of? You know, where there's a point where it's too much information, overload, and it's like we tune it off. So what do we have to know?
You know, whether there's all kinds of forms that everyone's using, whether it's technology on their cell phone, their social media, their apps, whether it's online on the computers and looking at that. It could be the newspaper. I still enjoy reading the newspaper in the morning, and so I think there's various forms of that, and I think for the sheriff's office and for the county, it's very important for us to make sure that we utilize all those platforms, and we do. Even the news media, obviously, you know, if there's something that's going on within the county, we want to make sure that residents know about it.
Well, what do you mean by that, going on? What is so key that I have to know it?
Yeah, you know, for example, last night there was a fire in the city of Stillwater that destroyed a house. There's
I didn't know about that.
Yes, and unfortunately, there's a mom and her son that is out of a place to live, and so they're asking for you know, donations. And what a great way, by using our social media platforms and our internet and our everything else, that's what we're doing. And so it's those type of situations, whether it's, you know, what all the good things that we're doing with the sheriff's office, but it's also those things that we need the public's help from as well.
Well, one thing for sure, I would want to know when the 911 system is down.
Yes.
I mean, you do let us know, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we have a code red system throughout the county that individuals can sign up for. That's through text or the internet or through their phone.
I thought it was a joke when I got it one time in email.
Yes, absolutely.
It's so rare.
It is, but the cities, you know, it was the county and it was the sheriff's office and Washington County Public Health and Environment that got that going, along with emergency management. But we put that out to all of our agencies and all of our cities, and they've all bought on it as well. And they utilize it. If they have a water main break, they will utilize that to send out a localized memo to the residents.
Dan, what role, the role of the Sheriff's Department is to protect the public. Would you agree with that overall?
Absolutely.
Okay. What role, if any, can we, the public, play in helping your department do just that?
You know, I think it's the what we've heard for a few years now, see something, say something, right? I mean, we want to make sure that if there's something that's suspicious that is going on, we want to make sure that the public is contacting law enforcement. And I think it's so important because there's so many opportunities for individuals to get involved, to know about the sheriff's office. And, you know, we offer the reserve program and our community engagement process and our Citizens Academy. There's so many areas for the citizens to get involved, to know what the sheriff's office is all about. A lot of people think the sheriff's office is just about driving around in a squad car, and for the most part, that's what they see, is our squads that are, you know, that pioneering agency, you know, in 1840, and they see that going down the street. But, you know, it's so much more than that. We're responsible for courthouse security. We're responsible for the county jail. We're responsible for the rivers and the lakes. You know, there's so much that we do, civil process, foreclosures, all that type of stuff, permit carries. And so it's those type of things that we want to make sure that everyone knows what the sheriff's office does. And this is a really important position, and thank you for having the Q&A. So.
Definitely. Tell me about school safety.
Yes.
Very, very bad.
You know,
here too. I guess it's because it's out there so often in the media.
Absolutely, it is. And
so tell me how you're going to, or have you made any changes or suggested with the school districts in the county?
Yeah, you know, recently what we did is we just had a collaborative effort. We just brought in all of the school districts, and it's more than just the school districts. It's our private and public colleges as well that we brought in. We brought in law enforcement agencies. We brought in the school districts as far as the board members. And what we're trying to do is bring a collaborative together. Is how do we do this? How do we make the schools in Washington County, private and public, how do we make them safe? There's only a limited amount of funds. Now, there's some technology that's out there, but the schools are inundated with this technology. Everyone wants them to buy their app or their new gizmo, whatever that is. And there's some really, really good stuff out on the market. Schools are a little leery because they don't know if it works. Who's going to test it? Who's going to be the first? But then how do we do it overall as well? So there's some consistency from Forest Lake all the way down to Cottage Grove. And we want to make sure that we want to be side by side with them as they go forward. We certainly have training that we've done with active shooter training in school safety, and we continue to do that. And we have training for all of our officers, but also our fire.
The staff at the administration, teachers, what?
Yep, so we have it for law enforcement, we have it for fire, and we have it for the medical community as well. But we also have it for teachers, principals, everyone else that, especially, we want them to know what's going to happen when law enforcement arrives.
Okay.
Because when something like this occurs, everyone comes en masse, right? I mean, everyone comes, and we want to make sure that everyone is on the same page as we go forward. School safety is near and dear to the sheriff's office and to me. We want to make sure that from north to the south that our children are safe. And we want to make sure every day that they go to school, that they come home from school. And that's our priority.
What do you think of the idea that's out there, people arming teachers?
Yeah. You know, it's a unique one. We haven't seen it within Washington County or within, and we really haven't heard too much about that. We certainly have seen it across the country, especially in the southern states with that. But I truly believe that if that goes that way, I think it truly comes down to training, and if the school districts really, truly want that in their buildings. Most of the district's administrators that I've talked to, they don't want guns within their school buildings.
Intuitively, do you feel comfortable with it? The idea of arming teachers?
You know, for us, we have school resource officers, and we would rather have our officers in their buildings. We know how they're trained, why they're trained, what they're going to do. We know that they're going to be effective to eliminate that threat when it comes into the building. And they are there for the right reasons. We want to make sure that going forward that we are a part of this conversation. For the school districts, we are definitely a part of it. We have school resource officers in Mahtomedi and also at Oakland Middle School, and they do a tremendous job, and we hear it from the school districts about how good they are. They look at policies and procedures with the school district and what those procedures should be, and so they do a very good job with that. Now, as you know, there's 8 police departments within the county as well. So it's important for us to be working with them, side by side with them, you know, in all of these type of issues when it involves the schools.
How do you prioritize during the day? I mean, so many pieces in this whole, I mean, the department has so many things to address.
You know, coming up and through the agency, I think it really gives me a unique perspective. Being a deputy sheriff all the way up to being now the sheriff, I think as far as that, I think it really truly is prioritizing and making sure that our people are doing the right thing out there, and they do every day. You'll see them; they're in their squad cars, they're smiling, they're waving at people. But they're doing what they're supposed to be doing because they care.
What are policies or programs that you would implement or have implemented to keep Washington County residents safe from internet-based crimes?
You know, that is so much. We just opened up a state-of-the-art computer forensic lab. We have 2 computer forensic experts that along with the county board, they gave us money to get this up and running. We have a great team up there that besides internet stuff, sex trafficking, whatever comes their way, they have the equipment to do it. And but I would also say that they also collaborate. Dakota County and Ramsey County are law enforcement agencies within the county. We collaborate on all of this because there's so much that comes across. Every crime, that occurs potentially has a technology piece to it. And we have to make sure that we're capturing that and looking at that, because that could make or break a case. And so I think as far as the scams, I think we're very proactive. I think it's prevention, it's education, and it's enforcement. Mm-hmm. And that is such a key, and that's a key for everything that we do.
What are ways you would provide leadership to ensure the taxpayers' dollars are spent efficiently and wisely?
We do this every day. I mean, this is what we do. As administrator, you only have so much in your budget, and I think being very fiscally conservative, I think it certainly helps going forward. We make sure that our employees are taken care of. We make sure that they have the equipment that they need to do the job, because that's very important. And we make sure that our citizens are certainly looked after. But we do try to collaborate as much as possible. I talked about North Central HIDA, and just like collaboration with Wisconsin and Minnesota, bringing in federal monies to the county. That is big. We just recently received a grant for a deputy to spend his time doing DWI work, driving while impaired. And so that's going to be his job, but that came from state monies, a state grant as well. And so there's, it's looking for those type of things. Our records management system that we have, that was, if you go to Anoka, that system was a lot more expensive over there than it is here. Mm-hmm. And it's not that we skimped or anything else. We got a very good deal because we're going to be a beta test site. We're not opposed to looking at things different. And I think that's really important. Our body-worn cameras, we were the first in the state to go to a cell phone-based body-worn camera. Again, it's looking at technology differently and being innovative and spending our taxpayers' money very wisely.
Going forward, what changes would you like to make in your department?
I think as we go, I think community engagement has been one of those things that I've been one of my initiatives from the onset. I think we have to get out of the car. I could tell you a story if I can. And it's really, I started about 10 years old. We had an officer that was stopped past our lot that we were playing football in. And that officer would get out of his car. His name was Wayne. And Wayne would get out and he'd play football with us. And 4 out of those kids, since we were 10, are now law enforcement officers. It is making sure that we are in the community, making sure that people can say hi, that we just don't drive around, that we're making a difference in people's lives, whether it's out on the street or whether it's businesses. We have to be a part of everyday life within Washington County.
Yeah, that was a very good story. You have one more story I'm going to ask if you would share with the people here and the viewers. I interviewed you 2 years ago at the Washington County Fair, and you told me about a partner. And that partner's remains are now in a jar on your desk.
Yeah.
Tell our viewers about that.
That partner,
Smokey.
That partner is Canine Smokey, and Canine Smokey and I were partners, and until he passed away, he was a great partner. It's one of these relationships. He was a family dog, but he knew he was a family dog when he was at home.
But tell us how he came to you.
But when he came, he actually bit the mailman. And,
right.
And this was up in Pine County. It was a family that donated the dog to the St. Paul
Donated?
Police.
I would have gotten rid of it.
Well, I think that's probably what they did.
And donate.
So I was fortunate enough to have him and train him and go through the training. And he was just part of the family. And
Were you hesitant? mean, you,
No.
oh,
Not at all. That was one of the things I wanted to do. And when I have drive and passion, that's
a
what
dog like
I
that
go
with
100%
issues?
in. Oh, he was great. Absolutely, he was great. And my kids would lay on him. I mean, he was just fabulous. But he's on my desk at work, and he's always there at work with me.
I always said when you told me that he had bit the mailman and then they quickly gave it to you, basically, I said that you had given a four-legged juvenile delinquent another chance,
Yeah,
right? I mean, that's
absolutely,
that's really right. Is there anything else you'd like to share your thoughts on anything as we close?
You know, I would just say to those in the audience and those that are listening, please do your homework. Look at the Washington County site. Look at what we're doing, because the sheriff's office is doing remarkable things every day, and I am so proud and so honored to be a part of it and to be able to call myself the sheriff of that agency and to serve the citizens. It's quite the honor.
To me, it's the number one race that people ask about, both as an election judge and as they know I'm a moderator, and it's a lot of excitement, and appreciate your being here, and of course I appreciate Paul Hoppy's being here on October 15th, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Margo.